Yeshivat Noam Buds and Kindergarten, and welcome to your guest reader. It's going to be Morah tonight. And like I said before, I'm going to choose out one of my favorite books. And tonight is going to be, this is going to be a good one, Stinky Smelly Feet, a love story by Margie Palanti, and it is illustrated by Ethan Long. All right, this book I got from one of my friends who lives in Houston. Her name is Kayla, and she told me that this was one of the best books I was ever going to read. So let's see what you guys think. Douglas and his dear friend Dolores are having a splendid day in the park. They skated, they sailed, they snacked on cucumber and butter sandwiches beneath a big shady tree. Douglas was quite smitten with Dolores, and one could see that Dolores was quite smitten with Douglas as well. Dolores giggled. "Let's kick off our shoes and let the grass tickle our toes." "What fun," said Douglas. "Yes, let's." Douglas pulled off his left shoe, and he had just flung off his right shoe with a carefree abandon when suddenly, let's see what's going to happen. Plunk! Down went Dolores. "Oh my, oh me," cried Douglas. He fanned Dolores with a napkin to give her some air. "What's wrong, my dear? What's wrong?" Dolores opened her eyes and mumbled softly, "Oh my, oh me." "I can't hear you," said Douglas, furiously fanning and waving and waving and fanning. Dolores mumbled something again. "I still can't hear you," said Douglas with another fan and wave. Dolores mumbled some more. "Oh, Dolores, dear, what can I do? What can I do?" cried Douglas. It looks like Dolores is really down. Dolores sat up. She took a deep breath. "Put on your shoes," she shouted. "You have stinky, smelly feet." And kerplunk! Down again went Dolores. "Oh my, oh me," said Douglas. He didn't know what to do. First fan Dolores or put on his shoes. "Shoes," muttered Dolores so softly. "Shoes." Shoes it was. And in no time, Dolores came to. "Huh, that was a close one," she sighed. Douglas helped Dolores off the ground. She picked a squished cucumber and butter sandwich from her hair. He, of course, was very embarrassed about having stinky, smelly feet. "Think nothing of it," said Dolores, patting his hand. "But I do think that a bath might be in order." Douglas was in total agreement. A long, hot, soapy bubble bath with plenty of bubbles was a sure cure for those stinky, smelly feet. After saying adieu to Dolores, Douglas hurried home. He filled a tub and soaked in a hot, soapy water for 1 whole hour and 15 minutes. His feet now smelled quite delightful. Not a bit of stink to be sniffed. Douglas telephoned Dolores to tell her the good news. She was very, very happy to hear. "Would you care to take a whiff this evening?" he asked with great confidence. Dolores ever so politely did decline, but she did accept Douglas's invitation to a movie. At the theater, he bought her a big tub of popcorn, a box of chocolate candies with sprinkles, and a giant soda with 2 straws. If it was today, we would not be sharing straws, would we? No, no. Yes, it was plain to see that Douglas was smitten with Dolores, and Dolores was indeed very smitten with Douglas as well. The two sat very close together in a row 13, which was their favorite number. The theater darkened. The music swelled. The movie was just about to begin when Douglas felt something very uncomfortable under his big toe. "Oh my, oh me," whispered Douglas to Dolores. "I think I have a pebble in my shoe." "Oh, please, do remove it before the movie starts." Dolores whispered back. "That can be so unpleasant." Douglas untied the laces and slipped his foot out from the shoe. And suddenly he heard, what do you think he heard? Plop! "Oh my, oh me," Douglas gasped. Dolores was now face first in the popcorn. Plop, 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 plop. went everyone else in the row alongside Douglas. And then the next row, and then the next, and the next, and the next. There was a very loud P.U., followed by a mad rush for the exits. A policeman in the lobby shouted through a bullhorn, "You, in there with the stinky, smelly feet, come out with your shoes on." Douglas was extremely embarrassed about having stinky, smelly feet again, especially in public. Dolores pulled a piece of popcorn from her ear and patted his hand. "Perhaps what you need is a bit more powder, my love." Douglas looked at Dolores and said, "Perhaps." So Douglas went home and showered, and powdered, and he perfumed, then sprayed and sprayed and sprayed. His toes were so fragrant, the most fragrant they have ever been. He went to sleep that night very happy and pleased, knowing he no longer had stinky, smelly feet. The very next morning, Douglas knocked on Dolores' door. "Care to join me for a day at the beach?" he asked with a big grin and sweet feet. "I would love to," replied Dolores. So the two packed up their blankets, towels, buckets, and a big striped umbrella, and off they went. Douglas stuck the umbrella deep in the sand, and he and Dolores sat under its shade, staring at the ocean, watching the waves. They gathered shells. They built a sandcastle for two. They shared a hot dog with lots of mustard. Yes, Douglas was very smitten with Dolores, and Dolores was indeed quite smitten with Douglas as well. She looked into his eyes and said, "Shall we wiggle our toes in the sand?" Just to be safe, Douglas checked which way the wind was blowing. And just to be prepared, he handed Dolores a clothespin for her nose. All right, guys, you think he got this? I hope he does. Alas, it was not enough. When Douglas removed his shoes, Dolores went down for the third time. "P.U.!" cried the crowd. A lifeguard blew his whistle. "Abandoned beach! Abandoned beach!" Oh, guys, poor Douglas. "Water! Water!" muttered a faint Dolores through the clothespin nostrils. Douglas grabbed his bucket, hurried to the water's edge, and ran back to Dolores. He threw the bucket on her face, and it went splash. "Not for me," she coughed. "For your feet! For your feet!" Oh me," said Douglas, wading sadly in the ocean. It was not a good day at the beach. It was not a good day for Douglas and Dolores. "Well, I have stinky, smelly feet, and that's all there is to it," sighed Douglas after another long, hot, soapy bath. Dolores sat next to Douglas, patted his hands and sighed as well. They were both quiet. They were both quiet for a long time. Then Dolores smelled something very, very bad and very foul, and it was very nasty. But it was not Douglas. Uh-oh, I think she's going to find out where the smell came from. It was coming from the bedroom closet. "Aha!" Dolores happily exclaimed as she made the discovery. "I don't think you have stinky, smelly feet at all." Oh me, "I don't?" said Douglas, very surprised. Dolores held her nose and shook her head. "No, not the least. Your feet are fine. It's your shoes. I believe you have stinky, smelly shoes." And they both sniffed. And what do you think happened when they both sniffed? I'll tell you what happened. Kerplunk! They both fell down. Well, they came and they concluded that it was most definitely his shoes. So they got rid of the shoes, every last stinky pair. Douglas was more than ever smitten with Dolores, and Dolores remained very smitten with Douglas as well, which was very nice indeed. because as it turns out, Douglas's shoes were not really the problem at all. And check it out, he's even wearing flip-flops. No, he still had stinky, smelly feet, but it did not matter, for what Douglas and Dolores had was real, true love. And that is a great story about friendship. All right, guys, have a great day. See you tomorrow.